All right, so now we get in this next section. Now you're kind of learning about what the Army's like. And here's some stuff that you said about it. There was a system for everything in the Army, a way to stand and a way to sit, a way to dress and a way to sleep. There's also a system for how to properly eat at the mess hall. Our routine was an endless, monotonous cycle. We woke up, made our cots, folded our sleeping bags in the exact way we'd been taught. Once the tent was in shape, it was on to barrack boxes. We had to lay them out as instructed, with everything in its proper place, whether it made sense or not. We had to stand beside our kit and cots, everyone perfectly still, as the officer did inspection. At the time, I thought that so much of this discipline was overkill. Why did we have to stand at attention when the officer was on the other side of the tent looking at some other dude's cot and kit? Why did our barracks boxes have to be identical? It took me a couple years to figure out that the skills they were drilling into us are actually really important for a combat leader. If you can't stand still long enough for morning inspection, how can your commanders trust you to hold your post during a mortar barrage? How will a leader know he can count on you to be a useful soldier if you can't even follow through on an order meant to keep you and your comrades safe, even if you don't know it at the time? All these drills were training me to put self-discipline above my instinct to flinch or flee. When everything in me told me to break my posture, to stand down, I learned to obey a different order instead. It was basic training, but I was assimilating some important skills that would later make me a better sniper. Now, I talk about discipline all the time.
Yeah.
And that's obviously why I honed in on this, because you kind of captured the kind of things that they're teaching you discipline. They're teaching you discipline. And if you don't make that connection, for all you young troopers out there that are getting ready to join the military, there's a purpose. There's a reason behind it. A definite purpose. And, that's part of my book, is the book that I wrote with Leif. One of the chapters is called Discipline Equals Freedom.
Yeah.
There's another chapter in there. It happens to be called Cover and Move.
Yeah.
And, we relate it to everything we do. To me, there's no other tactic. And again, I had to call this out in your book. And by the way, I'm reading your book right now.
Yeah.
And I was trying to figure out how to do this.
Yeah.
Like, should I say, okay, can you read this section? And then I thought to myself, it's going to be different for you to hear it coming from someone else, to hear the words. And when I looked up at you after reading that first section, I was like, he just enjoyed that.
I did.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because you're hearing it. You can never hear it. When you hear yourself read it, it's like, I don't know. It doesn't.
I have my own reaction because they're my words. Mm-hmm. But especially from someone like you, someone who's shared relatively common experiences. And I was a sniper team leader. You were a task force leader, and for us to have a similar reaction to the same types of things it's very interesting for me to see as well. To see someone like Jocko read the same thing that I went through and go, yes, exactly, because you got it. It took me a couple years to realize, like I said, why am I standing here? This is stupid. Let's just go out there and train. Well, you are training, bitch. You're learning how to do what you're told. And you're learning how to because if you take off from your barracks box, well, guess who's going to pay for it? The guy next to you.
And, beyond doing what you're told, even in that paragraph, you pointed out, look, the inspectors look in the other direction. You could easily break your posture.
Yeah.
He's not going to see you. He's never going to catch you. But guess what? You held the line.
Yeah.
You held the line, and that's what you're learning, is that no matter what, no matter if people are looking or not, you're going to do your job.
That's your duty.
Right.
It's your job. It's the job, right? It's the job. And people, what makes a good soldier? It's someone who understands their job is to be that soldier. And I know, okay, I know what I'm saying, and you know what I'm saying, but you got to go through that to really understand it. And me and you can give advice all day to people, like new guys. When you tweeted out I was coming, oh, I'm getting ready to go on selection. I'm getting ready to go I want to be a sniper. I'm joining the infantry. What do I do? I can give you advice all day. Jocko can give you advice all day. But man, there's some things you just got to learn on your own. And that's that standing there with your boots polished standing at the chow, wondering why you had to iron your shirt again is going to help you later on when you're under enemy machine gun fire and mortars are coming down. Trust me, that shit's going to help you.
Yeah.
But you're going to learn that on your own.
Now back to cover and move. Here you go talking about cover and move. In our pairs, one guy would move forward while the other guy would shoot to provide cover. The mover would yell, "Moving," and jump up and move forward about 3 steps, saying in his head, "Up, he sees me, down," while his partner covered him. At down, the mover would take cover going to ground, taking up a firing position and yelling, "Covering," once in position. Then his partner would move forward the same way. The idea was to always have a foot on the ground, which means one soldier is covering while the other is moving. Boom. And you just had to break that out on your own team at work now in the civilian sector, right?
Yeah, well, yeah. We had lunch, and the best thing I got out of reading your book, my transition was a weird one. Okay, politics is not business, but there are some business aspects in that I'm now dealing with people that aren't. I'm used to working in small teams with people that are professionals at what we do. So snipers. And even though that was 10 years ago, that's basically my last real working environment.
Yeah, that's what you know.
That's what I know. So even if I'm the boss and you're my sniper, and I go, "Echo, I need you to take up this position," I can go away, come back, that position's taken. But when you're dealing with civilian staff who have never operated in that kind of, or we say operated, they've never worked in that kind of environment, if I tell them to do something and walk away, you better come back and check, because they're not used to that kind of freedom. Because it's discipline, but I'm giving you the freedom to do the job I gave you. You don't need me to double check that you took up the proper sniper position. And then also, the cover and move, the foot on the ground, I realized after reading your book, I went, so Jocko just basically was like, "Listen, dummy." That's how I felt. I felt like a dummy. I'm like, of course I should have implemented this in the office. My people were operating in silos because I had because I'm the sports commissioner for the city. So I had a sports. One of my assistants was on sports. One of my assistants was on the policy, and one of my assistants was on constituency work, and that's where you deal with the voters who call in. But none of them were talking to each other, and I was only talking to them sporadically. So I said, "Okay, guys, from starting today," I didn't tell them why though. I wasn't like,
no,
I wasn't going to say, "Hey, this guy Jocko gave me an idea." I said, "Hey guys, I got an idea. From now on, you're going to CC him, and you're going to CC him back whenever you send an email, and then I'm going to CC you, and you're going to CC me." Within that week, our productivity, 100% improvement. Because now, instead of, everyone was just aware of what the others were doing. And there are things that I already know, but now I got to learn to apply them in my civilian life. Because I'm not working with highly trained snipers anymore. I'm working with people that are good at their jobs, but not necessarily the way that I expect them to be. And there's so much. We were talking about it right before we pressed record about why is the last podcast was The Art of War. And to us, it's kind of like a duh. Joe Rogan says all the time, it's a duh. That's a duh thing. But there's so much you can take from that book, and there's a reason why Fortune 500 CEOs keep it in their desk, because you can apply a lot of what Sun Tzu said 3,000 years ago to right now. And just to your daily life, to your interactions with your kids, interactions with your boss or your subordinates or your supplier or your colleagues. It's all right there. It's just you got to translate it. It's not difficult ground. It's it's a position you have to take on an issue. So, yeah, it's a trip to me. This whole life, this whole thing.
It's human nature.
Yeah.
That thread of human nature runs through from 2,500 years ago at Sun Tzu, through war, through life, through business, through the relationships that you now have with your kids.
Yeah.
It's everywhere.
Kids.